Law enforcement sources tell TMZ Ray J has been arrested and is currently in custody at a Los Angeles area jail. He was booked on a charge of making a criminal threat, okay? And his bail has been set at $50,000. Ray J allegedly pulled a gun on Princess Love and threatened to kill a man during a completely unhinged live stream. And the whole incident was caught on video. The chaos erupted early Thursday morning, when Ray went live from inside his home, immediately ranting that he was having the worst Thanksgiving in the Fing world, claiming someone was trying to take his kids and that he was also being threatened. Things spiral instantly, with Ray J appearing to snatch a handgun off the table and load the pistol, saying, "If these nas step foot close to this door, I'm going to blow this Fing SHT away, bro." He storms off camera, and moments later he's seen yelling at someone off screen, ordering them to get out of the house and accusing them of trespassing. Princess Love then walks in, saying she's taking their kids. That's when everything blows up. Princess, appearing to be holding their daughter Melody, accuses Ray of pointing a gun at her, repeatedly telling him, "You pointed a gun at us." As Ray fires back, saying she and her cousin are drunk, Princess claps back, calling Ray a woman abuser. Seconds later, a woman and a man enter. The man confronts Ray, which triggers an explosion, with Ray snapping, "I'll shoot the F** out of you." So the camera gets set down as the audio keeps rolling, and it sounds like Ray J continues threatening the man, shouting, "I'll kill you," followed by, "Get out of my house before I shoot you right now. I got a gun on me." And from that moment onward, the live stream became something nobody could fully understand or process in real time, because everything sounded like a mix of fear, anger, confusion, and years of unresolved tension bursting open in the worst possible way. And even though the camera had fallen sideways, catching only a blurry view of the carpet and the bottom half of a piece of furniture, the audio told a story more disturbing than anything the video could show. The shouting became louder, more frantic, echoing off the high ceilings of the house as if the walls themselves were trembling under the weight of everything unfolding inside them. And you could hear Princess trying to calm her voice enough to protect the children while still trying to stand her ground, her breath shaking as she tried to gather her daughter closer against her chest. Ray's voice, filled with a blend of anger and panic, kept cracking in ways that made it obvious this wasn't a show. This wasn't a publicity stunt. This was a man unraveling in front of millions. A father terrified of losing his children, a husband clinging to what little control he thought he had left, someone who was drowning emotionally and lashing out in the worst possible direction. Every sound, every muffled movement, every sharp inhale felt heavy with the realization that things had gone far beyond a domestic argument. They had entered a territory where one wrong move, one wrong word, or one moment of being unable to think clearly could have ended in irreversible tragedy. While the live stream played in front of thousands of stunned viewers, word began spreading faster than anyone inside the house. Realized social media lit up with people begging someone to call the police, others praying out loud in the comments, others crying because they recognized the kind of emotional pain that drives a person to scream like that. No matter how people felt about Ray J or Princess Love, hearing the terror in their voices made everything feel different. It wasn't celebrity drama anymore. It was a family breaking down in real time, with children present, with weapons involved, with emotions so volatile they felt electric. When the video finally cut off, the silence left behind was eerie. The kind of silence that made people sit in their homes staring at their screens long after the stream ended, wondering if they had just watched the prelude to something catastrophic. Meanwhile, in Ray J's house, the aftermath was immediate and unavoidable, because once the shouting began to settle, the reality of what had just happened began to seep into the room like cold air. The children were crying, Princess was shaking, and Ray himself was pacing back and forth, running his hands through his hair, breathing heavily as if he couldn't catch enough air to calm down. And by the time the police arrived, responding to the multiple emergency calls made by viewers, neighbors, and possibly even people inside the house, everything had shifted into a different kind of chaos. The kind that happens when adrenaline is crashing and the consequences of a moment begin to stare everyone in the face. Officers entered the home cautiously, aware that a gun was involved. And the sight of Ray just still emotional, still angry, still insisting he hadn't threatened anyone, even though the audio would later prove otherwise, made the situation tense for everyone in the room. Princess stood off to the side holding Melody, trying to keep the little girl's face tucked away against her shoulder, her eyes red from crying. Her voice barely more than a whisper as she tried to answer the officer's questions without breaking down completely. Ray argued, pacing, insisting he had only been trying to protect himself, insisting he had felt threatened, insisting he would never hurt his children. But the more he talked, the more disjointed his sentences became, and the officers could hear the distress in his voice, could see the wildness in his eyes, could sense the instability that had driven the entire incident. When they finally told him he was being placed under arrest, his reaction wasn't anger so much as disbelief. A crushing kind of disbelief that made him freeze for a moment as if trying to comprehend how a holiday meant for family had ended with him being handcuffed in his own home. As officers let him out, Princess watched with an expression that was impossible to describe in simple words. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even relief. It was heartbreak, deep, heavy heartbreak mixed with exhaustion, fear for the future, and a kind of emotional numbness that only comes after surviving something deeply traumatic. Outside, the flashing police lights illuminated the quiet street, casting sharp blue and red reflections across the nearby houses. And the cold early morning air wrapped around Ray J as he was guided into the back of the patrol car, his head hanging low as if the weight of everything he had done, everything he had said, everything that had led to this moment, finally crashed down onto him. The live stream had ended, but the consequences had only begun. The live stream had ended, but the consequences had only begun. And as the patrol car pulled away from the curb, the neighborhood, which had been silent only hours earlier, now felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for what would come next. Inside the house, Princess slowly sank onto the edge of the couch, still holding Melody tightly against her chest as the little girl whimpered softly, her small body trembling from everything she had just witnessed. The officers inside the home softened their tone as they spoke to Princess, asking if she needed medical attention, asking if the children were physically harmed, offering contacts for victim support services. But Princess barely registered half of what they were saying because her mind was still replaying the moment Ray grabbed the gun, the moment he shouted, the moment she realized things had escalated into something she never imagined. She would see from the man she once loved more than anything in the world. Her cousin, who had been accused of being drunk, was pacing near the dining table, muttering under her breath, her hands shaking as she tried to explain her side of the story to one of the officers, insisting she hadn't done anything wrong, insisting she was only trying to help Princess leave before the situation grew worse. But even she couldn't hide the fear in her voice, the way her eyes kept darting toward the doorway where Ray had stood yelling only minutes earlier.